What's up, gold miners? Today we welcome to the show Jim Manning, a seasoned real estate investor with nearly 2 decades of real estate investing experience, specializing in single-family flips and lease options. Jim got started in his real estate investing journey at the young age of 23, and over the last 2 decades has managed to amass a massive portfolio, over 300 doors and counting, in addition to doing well over 3,000 single-family flips. We cover a little bit of everything in this episode. We start off by really diving into the psychology of building a real estate business from the ground up and the psychological hurdles that are associated with any entrepreneurial journey. Jim shares his own story and how he went about overcoming some of these hurdles and how you can do the same. Later on in the episode, we cover his journey through the 08-09 recession and how he was able to build his flipping business over the next decade and eventually transitioning into lease options. What caused that? What inspired that? And why did he do it? And finally, we conclude the episode with Jim giving some very actionable practical advice for any 20-something looking to get started in their real estate investing journey. Look, Jim did it with zero money out of his own pocket. He literally had $0 to his name when he got started in real estate investing, and he shares how you, if you're in a similar situation, can do the same. Jim brings a very seasoned, nuanced perspective to this episode, and he really offers a refreshing take on how he measures his own success in today's world. Without further ado, everyone, let's welcome to the show, Jim Manning.
The Gould Mine podcast.
Jim, welcome to Gould Mine.
Danny, thanks for having me, man. Excited to be here.
Yeah, man. No, this is going to be a lot of fun, and you know, and learning about you and learning about kind of like what got you to where you are right now. You didn't start like you weren't always in real estate, right? It's not like you came out of school and immediately jumped into it. You were in corporate America for quite some time. So walk us through what you did before and what got you excited about getting into real estate and what kind of like got you to pivot.
Yeah. You know, what's funny is it felt like an eternity and quite some time. And it ended up being about 18 months. But when you're 22 and not wanting to be in corporate America, it felt like an eternity, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I started out, I had like an internship for a self-made billionaire. That was just a unique opportunity, and it was only a 2-week thing. Then I worked for a company in corporate America, and just knew within the first few minutes that it wasn't for me. And it wasn't that they had great benefits. You know, if I was still working there, I would probably only be working like 30 weeks a year. Like that's how good of benefits this company has. But, you know, I mean, I got the taste of what being an entrepreneur means and what you can do from that self-made billionaire, right? And flying around in private jets, drinking $1,000 bottles of champagne, and then I, you know, then to go to, you know, kind of working for the man, so to speak. I was like, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur and know what value I can create and if I can make it go or not. So I got in. I was 23 years old when I got into real estate, or maybe 23 turning 24, something like that.
Yeah.
Graduated college when I was 22. So, but yeah, now I feel, you know, I just turned 40. So, you know, better part of 2 decades doing this whole thing. It makes me feel old, Danny.
Yeah.
I feel really old. Even though I'm not that old, you know.
Yeah, no, it's fun. Well, I mean, look, man, I get it. Cause, I mean, I'm 33, and when I turned 30, I had this like existential crisis. I felt like my life was over. And now, you know, when I started this show a year ago, I've had so many guests on here, and it's kind of refreshing to hear everyone's stories. And you know, I've had a lot of people who are younger than me. In fact, the first, like, it's just funny, like the first 7 guests I had on, I think were like all like under 30-year-olds and like just crushing it. And I was so sad. I was like, dude, I'm so behind, you know? And then, but over, you know, I think so the law of averages kind of kicks in and had a lot of guests now, who like yourself have been in it for now, you know, almost 2 decades plus, and have managed to, you know, really build quite the portfolio and have a lot to bring to the table, because now you've been through some shit, right? Like you've seen the cycles, you've seen the markets and everything. And I'm sure that we'll get into that. And it's interesting that you kind of had that epiphany while working, your job. I kind of had a similar thing. But I realized that when I was like 13, 14. It was 14, I think. I was like a freshman, sophomore in high school. And my dad worked for a company, very corporate America, Fortune 500 kind of company. And dude, like, yeah, the guy graduated from MIT, basically with like, a PhD in like nuclear physics. And it just like, yeah, he's a smart dude, but completely undervalued for his skill set and the work that he put in to get there. So when I saw that, I realized I never wanted to work for anyone ever. Like I was never going to work for anyone. And so it sounds like you kind of the same thing through your own path, through your own journey, figured out like, hey, this is not it.
Yeah. And my parents, they were kind of, teacher, IT guy, believed in going to school, getting a job, kind of going that route. And I remember thinking like, they really put like almost like the fear of God in me, like, hey, oh my God, you want to start your own business? Why would you ever want to do that? And so, I mean, it took me probably an extra year from when I really wanted to do it to build up the courage and kind of break through to do that. And I remember thinking, if I was on my deathbed, who would I rather be? A person that went broke but knew and got into the game and didn't always have this real estate investing thing on his heart, or a person that played it safe, had a little bit of money at the end of the day, and had a comfortable life. But I knew, and I decided that I would rather know and completely go broke than not know and not take that chance. And I'm fortunate I did, 18 years later or whatever it's been.
Well, it's interesting too. I think that the only people who die broke, and having like studied so many entrepreneurs and so many success stories, it seems to me that the only people who go broke are the ones who give up, right? Are the one really like, I feel like if you are determined to do something, you will. As long as every time, because like, let's face it, dude, every time you take an L and you get back to like close to, if not like negative, dollars or like zero or negative, right? Like every time that happens, it hurts, I've been there. I'm sure, I don't know if you have, but like a lot of us who have kind of been through this entrepreneurial journey, like, yeah, man, like it sucks. And a lot of times I think that, because I kind of do some self-reflection on why I just don't care about that, and like why I just continue to, it's not that I don't care. It's like, why do I keep on trying? And there's so much information out there right now. First of all, it's like, there's so many people out there that you can listen to that like will give you the encouragement that you need to like just keep going. But even still, it's like the more entrepreneurs that you study, the more you realize that it's not about the loss. Like the losses are going to happen. It's what you do after the loss that matters, right? And how you pick yourself back up.
So I agree with what you're saying, and let me put a little spin on it. I've thought about this before. There's a lot of times we become like a real estate investor because of the financial freedom, right? And like being able to have my own hours and, have that lifestyle. And, there's two parts to freedom though, is the problem. Until you free your soul, it doesn't matter how many deals you do and how successful you are. And what I mean by that is, I have a real estate investor friend, and she was set up. She had a couple hundred rental properties, but she wanted more. She wanted more. She wanted more. And so then she did a bigger apartment complex deal and lost everything because she was always reinvesting, putting everything on the line. And a lot of times when you lose everything like that, there's something holding you back more on the internal level. It's not necessarily a financial thing. There's a pretty good book called The Psychology of Money that gets into like how much our subconscious impacts our upbringing impacts like our relationship with money, right? And I think people overlook that, and that's an element to it that, like the more successful you get, Like when I was in my 20s, it was like, well, when we do 100 flips this year, then I'll be happy, or then I'll be successful. And then guess what? We did 100 flips that year. Then I was like, no, when we do 200 flips, then I'll feel like I'm a success. And then we did it. It's like, no, if we do 250 flips next year, then I'll feel. And it's like this if-then ladder. And then as you climb, as you do more deals, there's still this emptiness. I had a friend just talking about Tom Brady on how Tom, dealt with all his, married to this supermodel, has all the money not all the money in the world, but has a good share of it. Right. Yeah. And then he was quoted as saying, is this all there is? And like when there is an emptiness inside that you try and fill with money and fill with success and fill with kind of significance and status, there cannot be a freedom. There is not a to-do list, a task, a goal, an accomplishment that will ever fill that void. And, if I had to give myself advice when I was in my 20s, it would be, well, hey, become at peace, and become at home on the inside first, and live a little bit from the inside out, and not, and feel free, with the relationship with myself, and for me with God too, like from a connection there first, and then the rest of it that can spring from that, and having an internal freedom. Oh, it's powerful stuff. And then like you couple that with what you're talking about, never giving up, hustling, going after things. That is the secret to living a crazy wealthy life, right? But if you don't have the personal stuff figured out, then all of the wealth and the material stuff feels shallow. And that was actually one of the first big lessons I learned from I had an internship with a self-made billionaire. Was that, I believe our success should be measured by what we gave up to get it. And here this guy had the pinnacle of success as an entrepreneur, and he was unhappy. He was one of the least, he was absolutely miserable, and took me and the guys I was working with for him out to dinner, because if the help was there, then his family had to talk to him and not yell at him, and so he did all the success, but he gave up some of the most important stuff to get it. And anyway, so that's how I view it. We're going down, it's interesting, these ADD rabbit holes I go into, and like, are we still on topic or not? I don't even know, but yeah, this is, sometimes it just comes out, Danny.
No, I love it, man. And, we normally don't go here, but I appreciate the tangent, because, and I'll just, I'll say too, like, I was definitely in that boat, about, a year and a half ago, where, I had this thriving real estate company, bunch of agents working with me, great, well, not great, but I was in a relationship that was from the outside looking in, great, right? House, dog, everything, everything that someone my age would quote unquote want, but I was very unhappy. And so it actually, speaking of God, like, that's one of the reasons that I went back to church, is trying to figure out, okay, like what's missing here, right? Because something's missing, right? And I don't think I've ever said that out loud on the podcast, but yeah, that's definitely one of the reasons why I went back. Like, I had to refine, I had to rediscover what it was to be me,
Yeah. And and here's the natural human thing on this, guys. It's I'm going to look exterior or outside, or this shiny thing, or that relationship, or that person that you become friends with, when all of that external stuff, like, it's not a spouse's job to make you happy and to have joy. I mean, it's all of that stuff is internal, like we want to seek outwardly, when it's like, well, no, it's time to go inward and to find some of those answers from within. And then that's, and then think about that, how, like, if you are at peace and have a joyful centeredness to you, man, what energy can you bring to a relationship? What joy can you bring that then it feeds off each other, and you're in this beautiful, like, compounding effect rather than like nagging and getting after each other. Than like just, you know what I'm saying? So, but a lot of that, that's the natural human thing, is to try and go out in the world for that when the only thing that's worked for me ever on that. And hey, guys, like you're talking about an achiever kind of guy that, you know, we've done for over 3,000 deals now, that was focused on the gap and didn't have near the joy that I should have for over a decade. Right. And I'm still have tendency to focus on the gap. So this is no judgment. The reason why I know it is I've lived it. Right. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it's been nice. That's one of the benefits of, you know, now that just turning 40 and having been around the block as an entrepreneur for almost 2 decades now is as you do evolve and you can grow and you can learn new things. And even like all the books I've read over the years, you know, sometimes we're from insecurities of, oh, well, I need to know more, or I'm not good enough, or, you know, and not, you know, the answer isn't always in a book. Sometimes it's inside and you already kind of know what to do. Right. But anyway, that's about what I have to say on that. I don't anything. I like Forrest Gump on it. That's all. And
that's all I have to say about that. Yeah. Oh man, love it, man. Well, no, I think that's great. You know, just kind of giving the audience some context there. Well, now I'm curious. Let's put a bow on that. But what was it, you know, that inspired that, like that mindset shift, you know, from, I guess, focusing on the if then ladder, right? Because I think we all get caught in that, right? Like, and by the way, like I remember distinctly thinking, right? And so I think that this will resonate with you. I remember distinctly thinking, like, when I get to 50 million in sales, I will be I'll be ecstatic. Well, the year that happened, I didn't even realize that I had crossed it. Like, I knew I'd crossed it and I knew that I blew past that number, but I also knew that, like, I was like, that wasn't good enough. I need to be at 75 next year. And I didn't even stop to like celebrate or acknowledge or like give myself credit for like, it was actually really sad, you know? Like this goal that I had in mind, I hit it, but like didn't even celebrate it when I got there, because by the time I got there, it was already like
your
beneath
bar
me.
had already moved. Yeah, it was
man.
Well, I'm still not good enough because it wasn't 75.
Yeah. Like where did you, at what point did you figure out how to kind of like break free from that?
Oh, this is what a question. So
I don't know. Cause you say you still struggle with it.
Well, my tendency is to struggle with it, but I'm in a better place than I ever have been. I first became aware of it. Brendan Burchard wrote a book called High Performance Habits. And in it, he explains that the difference between ultra high performers and just high performers is ultra, your top 1% of performers have found a way to be 100% happy and content with where they're at, and still 100% motivated with hitting the goals and going to the next level. And when I read that, I remember that hitting me like a ton of bricks, because I was like, whoa, that's not me. I'm in the high performing category, but I'm not in the ultra category, because I'm using a lot of negative energy and stress and fear to kind of motivate me to the next level. And so I became aware of that. Oh my goodness. I bet you I read that book 10 years ago or whenever, I don't know when it came out, but, and then I talked about it, I kept circling back, reread the parts of it that were relevant to that. And, I want to say just only in maybe the last 2 years, after a decade of working on it, that I've really kind of matured there. And I really got into like a very like internal kind of more at peace place. And, you know, the thing that has been interesting is that I've learned is that I'm still as motivated as ever. Like I didn't have to like use the fear to motivate me. I'm just naturally a motivated person and like to go after goals, you know? So, but that answer isn't found any, like the way to do that and to fill that void. This, what worked for me, I don't know what other things might work for any other people, but there's only one thing. There wasn't a book. I've read over 200 books over the last couple decades. If you look at my Audible, there wasn't a book. There wasn't any sort of logic that ever got me there. I had to go internal, and I had to get at peace with myself, with all of my flaws. There's plenty, I promise you. And also at peace with my relationship with God. And then that has opened up fruits there. You know, that's my truth and my journey, and the only thing that I've been able to find that has worked for me. And believe me, I've tried plenty. I've tried a lot of stuff over a decade to try and figure this one out. And I don't know, it's just like a comfortableness, or like, you know, putting on like a comfortable pair of gloves or something like that, just, or sneakers that just kind of fit right, but having that feeling with yourself, even though, you know, like, hey, it's not a perfect tennis shoe, you know, like but yeah. And then like, it's been a game changer though. Like, you know, and then what I'm doing, like I've been meeting all sorts of interesting people. Like just today, I had lunch with a tech, I would call him like a tech guru. He's had like massive exits and is only a year older than me and insanely successful. And I was able to just truly enjoy it, like not be intimidated that, oh my gosh, this guy's like way more successful than me, and just enjoy and like actually connect with people instead of like bringing all my own baggage and all my own head trash that can kind of block that.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it's a powerful place to be if you can get there, and you only get there through the internal work, and journaling is really helpful for me as well. That helps a lot for me.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. And just hearing that, I think a lot of people who are listening to this will resonate with that, because, you know, building anything is hard. You know, when you get into, you know, this space, whether it's in real estate or any other sector, right? But like, you know, both being in real estate, I think that I can definitely understand, because I also believe that there is this false sense of like ease, right? Like people look at real estate sometimes, I think from the outside, like they're in software or you know, computer science, or they're in some other industry, right? And they look at real estate and they're like, oh, you know, that's easy, right? And so kind of look at it. Oh, you mean I got to put some paint on a house and put a new carpet in, and I make 150 grand? Like, sign me up, right? So, and then they get into it and they realize, oh no, you know,
no. This is work. That's right. That's right.
So walk me through the first time, because you were 23, so you were young, and it sounds like at first you were doing some wholesaling / flipping, or how did you get into it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we were doing a little bit of wholesaling, a little bit of flipping, a lot of short sales. So back in 2006 to 2009, that was the real estate, and the economy ran into a little bit of a hiccup there, right? And so we were doing, just a little bit. You know, I think it was about 30% of the market was short sales, by the way. And so we were doing a lot of those, and what we did was in real estate, I think the best partnership structure is having a hustle partner and a money partner. and the money partner provides the capital, and the hustle partner does 100% of the work, makes 100% of the decisions. And so what we did was we were borrowing 100% of the purchase, and then out of pocket, we were self-funding the renovations. And so we were able to reinvest our profits and build them or build up to 3 rehabs at a time over the first 3 years of our career. But then the properties got, the 3 houses we had got stale and they weren't selling. And at that point, it was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? I had to get a 0% interest credit card and start living off of that because all of my life savings were in these 3 houses. Because, we were probably too aggressive with reinvesting into the company, right?
Sure.
And yeah. And then in the middle of it, I ended up hitting my head, had a health scare. And, the doctors thought I had a couple of seizures because of when I hit my head, I like shook a little bit. It turns out I'm just a wimp and I pass out if I'm stressed out. And so I passed out, hit my head really hard and had a concussion. But because they thought I had seizures, I wasn't allowed to drive for 2 months either. Or I'm sorry, 6 months. And so credit card bills are piling up. I have these 3 houses that are just stuck and, going to break even on one, lose my shirt on another and make a little bit on the third. And, at the time that my girlfriend, I had a beautiful moment in the hospital because I had to wait 48 hours to know if I was going to be okay or if I was dying. It was on a weekend and they just didn't do the test till a Monday and it was Saturday when it happened. And I remember looking over at my girlfriend of just a few months and I had this beautiful, like, I don't know if you've seen in the movies where like the hero like rises above the dark clouds and everything's like blue skies and shiny. I had this beautiful moment of like, oh my gosh, I want to marry this woman. And then I went back into the darkness and realized, oh, this is like the rock bottom moment of my life. My wife or my girlfriend, I can't afford to put a ring on her finger. I may be dying. I have no idea. And I said a little prayer to God, just like, hey, if I'm dying, help me out with that. But if not, help me find a way to marry Kelly. And so despite not being able to drive for 6 months, despite having the 3 deals that just weren't going well, we found a way and we did like 40 short sale listings that year, which a short sale listing is just awful. Don't recommend it for anyone, but we found, we happened to be real estate agents, even though we were more investors at the time. And so we just found a way to make some money outside of those bad deals we did. And then, we made a little pivot rather than having our money partners bring 100% of the purchase and then we self-fund all the repair money. We went to them and said, hey, we've been with you for 3 years now. Would you be willing to lend us 100% of everything? And then we'll just get you your debt return when the property sells. And all of them said, yeah. And we're like, oh, well, this is nice. So I don't have to put my life on the line when I do a flip.
Yes.
And instead of being like restricted, like that was the first main secret to scaling that we did. Instead of being restricted by how much capital we had, we are only now restricted by the amount of capital we could find.
Deal.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And then that's how I started out in real estate with a $0 net worth. And that's how we got up to 250 flips at the same time. And I think that was like 2016, 2017, something like that. And, then we just went on this little run and, I was just so crazy focused on with, Simon Sinek talks about, being clear on your why, right? My why became, hey, I want to marry Kelly. And then we go on the run, get through all those problems. I get married to Kelly. And then it's so interesting when you've done it this as long as I have, you realize that you have to change your why. It has to evolve and grow. Because I was married to Kelly now. Well, now what? I got to find a new motivation. And then it became, hey, we're going to do more deals than anyone. And, I don't know, there's not any stats on investors if we did or not. I think we might have in our market. We were certainly top 2 or 3 in our market and what we were doing. But, and then things got stale again a little bit. Like it became about doing the deals and then I'll never forget it. I kept having a friend in a mastermind group say, "Hey, Jim, you got to look into these lease purchase deals. You can make more money, take less risk than you guys are doing, and you can build passive wealth with it." And we were just doing flips. All you're doing is you're as good as your next deal. Like you got to hit on it. And so we tried one out, and there's 2 tenant buyers that were in a battle for a property. One had $30,000 down for a house. The other had $40,000. And I was like, oh, well, I guess there's a demand for this thing. That sounds kind of nice. So we got the 40 grand from one of the tenant buyers, and down payment money on lease purchase deals, by the way, isn't taxable till they move out of the property or buy you out of the deal. And so, $40,000 of flip money versus $40,000 on lease purchase down payment money. There's a sizable difference there when you factor in taxes.
Tremendous. Yeah. Yeah.
So then one of the next clients we did, has a special needs kiddo. The special needs kiddo got sick. They got behind on medical bills because of that, and their credit got damaged. And they needed a specific school district. We were fortunate enough to have a house in the school district they needed. And we said, hey, well, instead of renting, why don't you be a homeowner? And we can get you started, back with a piece of the American dream and putting that deal together and creating that impact. Whoa. I mean, it reinvigorated me. I mean, things were getting a little bit stale. It became really about me and my ego and doing more deals. And then, I was able to shift. We talked about joy earlier, and maybe this has been part of the joy too, because it had become about me, unfortunately. And then when it started to shift to be about others and the impact and helping and having a purpose at that level, there's been a lot more joy behind it. And then the demand of the niche has been phenomenal. We've been barely keeping up with things. We have a real estate fund now that's actually closed out. There's about 65 partners or so on that. That we're opening up another real estate fund to do these deals with too. But it's been a true joy to find something that can create a impact and be financially good for us, a great quality investment, and be just a good thing to bring to people. Like, I don't know. That's the other thing, guys. Like when we invest in things, I think one of the most important things we need to realize is that with investments, comes an opportunity for influence and for doing right with people, right? And like when we invest in like these global index funds that the financial industry teaches us is the safe, best way to make the most amount of money, there's nothing wrong with that for money's sake, but we're giving away the most powerful thing that our capital can do. So for example, like Christopher Columbus, he was backed by the King of Spain, not the King of France. And there's parts of the world now that speak Spanish and they don't speak French because of that investment. And it's just a good example of how much influence we can have over it. And, I'm not getting any younger. So like the way I'm viewing things is like, hey, let's do some investments. Let's create some good things for people. And, just it's the art of the great real estate deal. What can I say? Create that win-win, right?
That's amazing, man. Yeah, no, that, I definitely can see how well, and would you say that like around the time that the lease purchase stuff kind of came about, and I want to dive into that more, by the way, But would you say that like the psychology around your personal psychology, right? And like the way that you were kind of like evaluating your success and everything was shifting around the same time that like your investment strategy shifted?
Yeah, they absolutely go hand in hand. That's right. And I mean, the unfortunate thing is, I went to a Jesuit high school and they teach you for the greater glory of God. And I did have altruistic motives even in my 20s that I like the thought of flipping a house, making a home for a family and making money while I did it. Right. So I kind of like the thought of both, but I mean, I lost my way on it because it became about all doing deals and just making money. And, it's just like the hamster wheel. And we just got it spinning faster and faster and faster. And it was like, at some point it was like, gosh, I want to get off and really make sizable, progress towards freedom. And for me, yeah, it was becoming aware of my ego, aware of some of the negative energy I was using, becoming aware of, what I've really put on earth to do and what my purpose is. And when that happened, everything else started lining up. It's just, it's like the reticular activator system. I feel like a nerd saying it that I even know that, but that's just the way the brain works. Like, so when you line it up on the inside, then all of a sudden these opportunities start to show up. And it's been a true blessing. And and I think does go hand in hand with me being in a happier place too. I know our net worth and the passive wealth we have is in a happier place too, obviously. But yeah, it's been kind of both for me. That's a great observation, Danny.
It looks, Jim, like we're running up on time here. Want to be respectful of your time. So, just before I let you go, two last things here. Number one, what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is in their 20s? Since you've now ridden this out for like 18 years, right? But you have a tremendous amount of experience now, but you also have that context of what it's like to get started when you're super young. So what's the advice for some young bucks out there that are looking to kind of pave their own path in the real estate investing space?
Value information and knowledge, but don't overvalue it. When I first started, I thought I needed to be the guy that had all the answers. And that really slowed me down. So when I approach a new problem that I don't know now, rather than researching it, if it's a legal problem, I'll call an attorney and I'll call the expert that already knows the answer to the problem, right? So when I was trying to do deals, I only did one deal in my first 18 months, guys. And my ego really blinded me. I didn't want to be the guy showing up to the RIA or whatever investor meetups, and be like, oh, he's the newbie. He's not ever done deals. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And I was too proud to ask for directions. And that really slowed me down. I didn't actually start doing deals until I got a lot of the right people around me. Yeah, and so the quickest path to deals to success is not necessarily having all the answers. It's having the relationships that have the answers. So rather than ask yourself, how is something done? Ask yourself, who's already done this that I can connect with? And I mean, it exponentially speeds up your growth. And when you're developing new relationships, if it's a new one, try and provide value first. Don't just be a taker, right? That helps. And, I started my now business partner. He had been investing for about 2 years before I started. The deal I brokered with him was, hey, you can do your own deals. Every deal I do, I'm going to do with you, but I need you to show me the ropes and teach me everything you know. And he was okay with it because I was making him money, and then turned out we had a good synergy, and it led to a partnership, and we're still business partners to this day. But just get self-awareness on who you are and what you're good at. I promise you, everyone listening to this, I'm talking to you. You aren't a complete solution. You're not good at everything. be aware of what you're good at and find the other people that are good at what you're not, you know? And then that's how you grow, or you rock and roll.
Love it, man. Well, we are definitely, and for the audience at home, I know that we wanted to dig into lease options. We spent so much time at the beginning on other things. So we're going to have you on for another follow-up, Jim, so that we can really dig into the weeds of the lease options and give the audience some tactical stuff there. But in traditional Gould Mine fashion, it's customary for every guest to give the audience or leave the audience with one final gold nugget. So what is one final gold nugget, Jim, for the audience at home today?
I want you to think about measuring your success by what you gave up to get it. The billionaire that I worked for got everything, achieved every goal, but was absolutely miserable. So what's the point if you do that? And, you know, I talk about this on the Passive Wealth Show quite a bit, but like get clear on who you are and what you want to do. And, you know, you don't have to. You can be a real estate investor and become financially free without ever doing one real estate deal on your own. You know, if you have a profession that you feel like is your purpose, like let's say you're a doctor that loves being a doctor. You've already figured out how to make money. Well, fantastic. Now how do you figure out how to be a passive investor? You know, I talked about how we grew our entire business with money partners, right? Well, be a money partner to somebody. We have real estate funds. You can talk to us about that if you want it, or not us, find somebody else. That's great. Find Jim the next 22-year-old that's Jim Manning, you know, like there's plenty of ways to do it, but like the guy in me, I wanted to be the guy doing all the work, right? Well, doing all the work means, okay, you're going to work a full-time job and then work nights and weekends to get this other thing off the ground. And it just doesn't pan out. Like, I mean, some of the returns we get our partners are more than I got myself in my first 5 years of doing it full time. Like if you get the right who in your life, like things can work out. So, you know, that's what I would do, is just identify it. And if you're more on the active side and or like what I was, $0 net worth before I got into real estate investing, fantastic. Rock and roll, and don't let money stop you. I didn't. I found people with money to help do the deals, you know, and you can do that too. So anyway, but yeah, that would be some advice I'd give y'all.
I love that, man. Measure success by what you gave up to get it. Cause yeah, it's great. It's like, hey, I got there, but at what cost, right? And you have to consistently reevaluate that. That's this powerful thought process. Jim, you've been awesome, man. For the people back at home, how can they find you, reach you? We're going to include everything in the show notes, obviously. But
perfect.
How can the folks check you out?
Yeah, so passivewealthshow.com is our website. I have a couple of free courses on there if you want to learn just the nuts and bolts to being a passive investor. There's a free course on there for that. If you want to talk to our team, there's like a link on that website. You can connect with us. We really help people. If you want to be an active investor, if you're already a landlord, we can help you make more money through lease purchase deals and show you how to do that. Or if you want to be a passive investor, we need to get into a relationship with you first and get to know you. But you know, you could invest through our team and not do any of the work if you have some capital you're looking to deploy. So, you know, those are kind of the two main ways that we help people. And then Passive Wealth Show, I'm on YouTube and your podcast player of choice as well. And yeah, check out any of the content on there too. So
love it. Awesome, Jim. Hey man, this was great. And I can't wait to have you on for part 2.
All right. Love it. Thanks, Danny.